Hey everyone, welcome to the Above the Yellow Line live stream. Another Thursday night with you all, joined by Dom Joseph. As always, I feel like it's a consistent, so here we are. Also wearing red. We're
Yes.
both wearing red
No,
today.
yes. I mean, I went to the Ohio State spring game last weekend, which was a blast. It was my first time going to the spring game. I've been to a lot of games before, but that one was really cool because no matter what, I was walking out of there with a win.
That's true, which is positive. The question I have for you is: we tend to go to races a lot and buy a lot of stuff, die-cast, merchandise, whatever. Did you buy any Ohio State merchandise?
No. Well,
Wow, I'm
it's
shocked.
no, it's complicated. So
Okay.
I've been working on a project that you know about. I don't think any of the fans do. I've been working on a project where I bought a replica full-size Ohio State helmet and kind of redid it, remodeled it to look just like my favorite player growing up, Ted Ginn's helmet.
That's cool.
IO, by the way.
Yeah, IO.
So the only thing I bought this weekend were Buckeye Leafs to go onto the helmet. So didn't get any jerseys or T-shirts or hats or anything, but we walked into the stadium and I'm like not even thinking about merch at this point, just wanting to watch the game. We go past the team shop and they've got authentic game used jerseys on
Ooh.
sale. Oh
Oh
my
no.
gosh, I could have melted looking at I could have. I mean, they were all going for $300 to $500 a piece.
Oh my god. I mean, rightfully
One of
so.
them one of them actually was worn in the Rose Bowl and it had the Rose Bowl patch on it. So
Ooh.
yeah.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm proud of
Some good
you.
ones. And there was a if anyone watches the NFL in here, there's a player by the name of Terry McLaurin who's a really good wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. His jersey was on sale. So yeah.
That's
Oh, fucking crazy.
Hey, that's just more
They
money you can
can't
spend
keep
at the
doing this to
racetrack.
me.
They can't, but they will. Merchandise. Sports merchandising is just the most fun. The most
Oh
fun time.
yes.
Speaking of fun times, Texas, so
How
much
about
fun.
it?
Yeah, how about it? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the point standings between us above the line folks right now. I'm still leading somehow. I had 3 actual race wins in a row of our picks. I don't understand how that happened, but it
Just
did, and I am so
my number
thrilled.
just keeps getting bigger.
It keeps getting bigger. Toby, however, had 2 race wins in a row. We didn't have a live stream last week, so sorry, y'all. We missed that to preview Texas. However, Toby did get a win 2 weeks in a row, and Adam is in third. Ben is in second, and Dom, you're still in fourth, but you're working on it. You're doing
Listen,
fine.
it's a long season. I'm gonna say that until the very end.
It's okay. It's fine.
We'll
It's
go
fine.
into we'll go into Phoenix, but hey, we got a long season ahead of us.
Like you will have a comeback. I really think so because like last year I won and then Ben did. Ben did last year. He won it all.
Mhm.
Before I did and I won it all. So you never know. It's anyone's game. And like everyone's saying in the comments, the 9 is back. Chase Elliott is finally after 42 races back in victory lane. Did you think it would happen at Texas at all?
Of all the racetracks for him to get his first win since Talladega 2022, wasn't thinking Texas.
No.
But
Nope.
listen, he earned it. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people joke with the Mickey Mouse victory, whatever it takes to get the 9 in victory lane. No, he earned this one. That restart with about 30 to 20 to go. I was listening to it on PRN on my way home from Ohio, and they talked it up like he got a slingshot restart and just timed it
Yeah.
perfectly and just rocketed past them, which is something we're used to Kyle Busch doing. So kudos to him. It was a hard fought victory by every stretch of the imagination. And if I can, what I loved about that finish was not because Denny spun, but why he spun. And
Yeah.
it was because they were both driving so freaking hard to get the lead, and one little disturbance in the air sent that 11 car around like a top. And that's just
Yeah.
so cool that those cars are that on edge at all times. And like that's what we want. We want these guys racing that hard where one tiny mistake and their race is over. So that was I I mean, I love Denny, but it was
Same.
pretty
Same.
cool to see NASCAR's most popular and NASCAR's most unpopular side by side. And when the villain wrecks, the place erupted. It's just like we need that. we needed
It
that.
was a moment made for cinema, quite honestly, when
Oh
that
yeah.
happened. And there's 2 comments I wanna make with that point. One, that happening where second place just got the air taken off of them and they spun out happened, I think, 3 times during the
Mhm.
race. I know the Ross Chastain, that was a whole separate incident with William Byron. Again, they haven't talked. I forget what outlet I
Yeah.
saw that on, but they have not talked following that wreck yet. I don't know if they will. Who knows? But the other thing I wanted to mention about that too, I was on the bull ring this week at Racing America's offices. That was super fun. Shout out to them. And we actually had a conversation about, Chase Elliott being back in victory lane. How good is that for the sport? Like, how big of a deal is that? And I think it's huge. We've talked about this before with Chase Elliott and his star power, where he is a star in terms of performance. He has the legacy name, but in terms of maybe how he puts himself out there as a star should, he just doesn't. He's more reserved, and that's fine. And we can't expect him to do that because that's who he is. He's a more reserved guy. So having him be a winning driver is so much more important than maybe like a Jeff Gordon when let's say like he wasn't winning. He's still a star. He's still going to be on SNL. He's still the face of NASCAR, right? But when Chase Elliott is the face of NASCAR, he's not, you know what I mean? So having him back in victory lane not only is good for the sport, but for me at least, it was refreshing. I gotta say, I think you get to a point whether you like Chase Elliott or not, where you're like, okay, come on. I want to see him get back in victory lane. I found myself, I don't know if this was true for you, Dom. Like actually, like I was on the couch and I was like, come on, Chase. Like, just get the win. You're so close, 2 laps away. You got this. Like, I was cheering for him, to be honest with you. And I don't find
Yeah.
myself doing that often.
Yeah. It was, you know, it's not that I was rooting for him, but when we got into like the 10-5 first restart, I was like, it's time.
It's so his time.
It's
Yeah,
just he's due. And, I mean, I don't like to pick favorites because I shouldn't, but we all know
same.
where my flags are raised, and it's with
Yep,
that 22 team. When I know
yep.
he's not in the hunt for the win, I become a realist and say, hey, I want Denny and Chase to put on a show, and
Yeah,
by golly, they did. So, and yeah, the whole Byron Chastain incident, that's just 2 guys racing hard for at the
it
finish,
really
and
is.
it's just that's a combination of 2 guys. One guy's trying to save his race car, and the other guy's trying to figure out how to get around a wrecking race car.
Yep.
So there's really not much there. I'm sure they will find a way. I mean, Chastain isn't going to forget that,
Oh, no.
and he
No, no.
shouldn't because he's a competitor. But no, it was very cool. I know John, who's in our chat here, and a lot of you who have
Yeah.
been fans of NASCAR for a very long time will remember this. Taylor, you don't understand how big a deal it was when Dale Jr. won Michigan in 2012. It was
It was a
it
drought
was
before he
it
won
was
that.
because his previous victory from that was Michigan 2008. So 9, 10, and 11 he was winless.
Mhm.
So it was so brutal for those fans to pull for their most popular driver who wasn't a contender. 2009, he was pretty irrelevant. 2010, about the same. 2011, they were kind of getting it together, but still not that good. And you could tell in 2012 they had something. And when they won Michigan outright, I mean, Adam Alexander said it perfectly coming off turn 4. There is going to be a party in Junior Nation tonight. It was I remember I went sprinting down to the basement of my grandpa's house, shouting to my dad, "Dale Jr. won! Dale Jr. won!" So that Chase Elliott fans got to be feeling really damn good right now.
Oh, yeah, and I didn't think that the winless streak was gonna last probably more than, 60
No,
races at most. Like, you knew he was gonna get back in victory lane, and I do think it's time. I
the
mentioned this
way that whole
on
team's been racing this year,
well,
for sure.
yeah, and I was gonna mention the way the team's been racing this season, and I mentioned this on the Above the Yellow Line post-race show that we do every single Sunday night, Monday, but Alan Gustafson, a lot of y'all have been giving him crap, and I'm not here for it. I like this man. That's the man that got him the championship. This is the man that has been with Chase Elliott through his most successful years, and he made that gutsy call. Granted, it was whether it would work out or not to keep him out on track longer during that first green flag run to see if we would get a caution. And then Jimmy Johnson brought out the caution and got Chase Elliott, that track position, and he was able to maintain it all day because otherwise he qualified poorly. 24th, I think it was, at Texas. So, I mean, say what you want, but I think everyone who's calling for Allen to go away, I think that's so wrong. That's so wrong. I think it's just out of frustration. So hopefully we can kind of set that thought process aside and let this 9 team fight for a championship. Because I think this year, with how they performed, they're true contenders. I mean,
The
we're going into race 10, so
only thing Hendrick would do would would move the crew chiefs around. And
Yeah,
honestly,
they're all perfect
I
fits, in my opinion.
I think I don't see that happening. But
I don't either.
let's just say Chase is still winless and he doesn't win Texas, and we go to the end of the year and nothing's changed. I looking at Hendrick Motorsports, Kyle Larson and Cliff Daniels are inseparable. They
Correct.
are they are the Chad and Jimmy of our current era.
Absolutely,
Um,
100%. Rudy Fugle and William Byron, I think they have a similar.
Rudy, I think so too, but I feel like that might be where the switch would be. I
Ooh,
think
no.
I think Hendrick would move Rudy to Chase and put Allen with William.
Ooh, that
But
feels wrong.
it does. It
Yeah.
does. But I think, but again, now that Chase has won, that's just all erased.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm just saying, if they were still winless and go to the end of the year, that would be my viewpoint of it. Because I don't know, if you're trying to see if a different synergy works, maybe that's the way it goes. But I mean, good grief, how good are Larson and Cliff Daniels?
They are incredible. And to your point with that, every single week you come out with a top 10, projected top 10. Speaking
Not
of giving
going well.
crap, yeah, everyone has given you crap though about it not going well. And this weekend, I think it finally went well, with the exception of like some of the drivers, like Kyle Larson, for instance. Since we're talking about him, he was in pursuit of a top 10 until late in the race. He had that
He
heat
had the
tire, and
second. I think he had the best car, and
he
just
did.
something went wrong. But
Yeah.
that's
So
racing. That
same
happens.
with Denny Hamlin. I think you had him in the top 10, and then of course we had that incident with that first overtime finish. So I mean, you were pretty on point this weekend, all things considering how the rest of the
I mean,
season's gone with that.
I
But
had Kyle Busch winning the race, so.
well,
But hey,
that's
that's
hey.
just what the numbers tell me.
Well,
So
and speaking of, you had Austin Dillon in the top 10. I know he's been in the top 10 a few
yeah,
more times in your projections,
I was
but this
proud of
is his
that.
first top 10 of the season.
Yeah, he
This
likes
week,
Texas. He won there in
yeah.
2020. He's pretty solid there.
Yeah. So glad to see him in the top 10 finally. Saying that politely, but finally, I feel like that 3 team needs to perform better. It's just they have to. But speaking of all of that, let me look at the point situation. Let me pull that up for you all. Here we go. All right, so Chase Elliott, of course, with a win, he is now locked into the playoffs. We have all those drivers locked in. This is how the points stand. Joey Logano finally, fighting his way back from that early, just awful season.
And it's
And
just about time.
it is just about time. It is just about time. But +0 above that cutoff line. Kyle Busch, I guess it should be -0 below that cutoff line. They're both tied around that line.
Yeah,
Brad
yeah.
Keselowski -1. Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek, I believe before this race, they were both around that 17th and 18th position, so they scooted back just a little bit. But
Yep.
let me change this a little bit so we can see some of the numbers with Zane Smith and everything like that. Following Texas, and because we didn't do a live stream last week. Any drivers that surprise you right now? Any drivers you want to point out that are either below or above that cutoff line?
One thing for sure is we're starting to see that beginning of the year momentum from Kyle Busch is gone.
Yeah.
He started the year fantastic, and then I think after the debacle at Phoenix, I think they really just haven't recovered from that. They had a good Daytona 500, had a great Atlanta, should have won Atlanta if the Camaro nose was about a foot more for him, but not even a foot. And then they had the whole team of RCR. Him and Austin both had a good run at Vegas, and then they just missed it at Phoenix, had an awful Bristol, and they've just been trying to dig themselves out of that hole. But they're only digging themselves deeper into the hole.
Right.
So it's
And
just
with Kyle
unfortunate to see what's
Busch,
happening there with Kyle.
And with Kyle Busch, what he mentioned during the media availability, I believe this was at Martinsville, he talked about how and why RCR seems to be struggling, specifically on the short tracks. He mentioned that their sim setup that they have in shop to help prepare them for these races is so far off from what they're actually seeing and what they're feeling at the track. So that's part of the problem. And part of that problem too is we don't have enough practice. Again, it goes back to the whole practice conversation. I don't totally want to get into that because that's a can of worms that I don't want to open right now. But it goes back to, they're not having enough time out there to figure out the setup. But we also see if RCR doesn't have it figured out, other teams do with this small amount of practice. So something is still off there. Hopefully RCR has it figured out. I do want to mention Alex Bowman at this point. Plus 11 above that cutoff line. I think he's a driver, and we've talked about this a few streams ago, that I think we underestimated going into this season. Remember last year, he was very consistent. I believe top in points, and then he had his injury, unfortunately. But, going forward, I honestly think Bowman could win a race this season, potentially. I know we're starting to see more consistency in terms of who is winning, but I wouldn't totally count Bowman out yet. Obviously, he's close around that cutoff line. We still have many races to go before the playoffs hit, but I did want to point out that he is there. He's present. We might not talk about him a lot, but I wanted to make that known. Also, Chase Briscoe. Look at that guy.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, talk about carrying the flag for your team. Chase Briscoe doing great. And then to finish on Bowman, with how good Hendrick is right now, it wouldn't come as a shock. But Briscoe's doing an excellent job with that team and just being a contender. I know he had his incident with Bubba, but man, he's a contender. He's running well, and just if you want to see how much better he is than his teammates, look at these standings. His closest competition is Ryan Preece, who's 80 points behind the cut line, and he's 14 to the good. So yeah, he's having a hell of a year.
And a reminder with Ryan Preece, he did have that 35-point deduction at the beginning of the season for a penalty. So regardless, though, he's still behind his teammates. So, I mean, good job for Briscoe. Again, looking at both 23-11 cars in that top 16 in points. Overall good. Chris Buescher, by the way, that top 16 in points as well. And I think knowing the Ford strength at Talladega, and we'll preview Talladega in a little bit, he has the potential to raise that. And obviously knowing chaos at Talladega, the potential to decrease that points position that he's at right now. But
how about Hocevar doing a lot better than LaJoy, which is kind of a shock for me.
Yeah,
doing a lot better than him.
I believe this was his first top 10 this weekend, correct? Yeah, so really good for him.
Career best finish for him.
Yeah, love to see. I'd love to see him succeeding. I did want to talk real quick before we move on to, discussing news and stuff. I know there's not a whole lot of news this week, but the Xfinity Series race, did you watch that?
Did I watch? No, I was at the spring game.
Okay, so maybe I can fill you in a little bit. Ryan Sieg, he was so close.
I saw the finish. I saw the finish. Yeah, I saw the finish to that race, and I mean, I say about Denny and Justin Allgaier, they are statistically destined to never win titles. I feel like what we saw yesterday is Ryan Sieg is destined to not win a race. That was Saturday. That was oh my gosh.
It's just so painful. I mean, because he was doing so well. My heart still breaks.
I feel so bad for him, but it's also like people are probably mad at Sam Mayer because he drives for Junior Motorsports and stuff. But like, look at the year Sam has had. He needed that. He needed that. So
I was gonna say he had an awful season, and then the win. I mean, that's a big confidence boost for them, and he did it. It was a strategy call, but nevertheless, you have to drive up through the field to get that. So good win for Sam Mayer. Great for that one team, but you just hate it for Ryan Sieg, dude. You really do.
That's rough. Yeah, but hey. Racing.
That's racing. So you never know. I do feel like Ryan Sieg, he has been performing a lot better this season overall as a whole. So do I think he'll have another opportunity like this to win? I don't know. Again,
Talladega.
You look at Talladega, you got Talladega. Outside of those super speedway type of tracks, I don't know. So there's that. Anything else from Texas you want to talk about before we move on and talk some NASCAR topics from the chat as well as some NASCAR news?
Yeah, if you want to, because you watched the race, you might be able to pick up on this a little more. Just based on what I was hearing, it sounded like, I mean, obviously Austin Cindric he just doesn't compare to his teammates, but it seemed like Blaney had another really good run for Penske. And I know Joey was just going back of the field, front of the field, just because of his strategy, but it felt like Blaney was up there for most of the race. Is that true?
Yes, Blaney was up there for most of the race. Unfortunately, though, he had an incident. I forget exactly what happened, but he ended up getting into the wall. Another one of the things, I think it
Oh, that's
was.
right. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to misspeak here, but either he got on the bumps in turn 4 or he got into it with another. There was Brian Priest, contact with Brian Priest. I'm pretty sure
Gotcha.
that's what it was. And it just his car and it just he wasn't the same the rest of the day. I think he finished the race 8 laps down, if I'm not mistaken. So that really took him out of it. But otherwise, he was again pretty much the lone Ford driver that was steering the ship most of the race until that happened. But no, he again solid car,
Yep.
and then going again into Talladega,
Yeah.
he's able
And
to
then
win there really well.
so close for Keselowski again.
Oh, Keselowski
Yeah.
again. It's so, and he shared after the race his frustration. He goes, "I'm frustrated, as a driver because I want more speed." And then he also shared from like the team owner standpoint. He's like, we're trying to get speed in these cars. It's part of my job, but we just can't get there. But Brad, I will say again, we try not to be biased on the show at
So
all,
I
but
think yes,
man,
this is a Kyle Busch quote. This is a Kyle Busch quote. This was in 2014 when I think company wide in Cup they had 2 wins. Yeah, they only had 2 because
yeah,
Kyle won California, Denny won Talladega, but he was arguing with Dave Rogers and he said, "Hey, coach is over my shoulder saying we need to calm down and get this race in." And
oh
Kyle
yeah,
said, "If I had faster cars, I'd be a happier person." So
Brad Keselowski.
it's Keselowski right now,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, so I mean, I hope they find speed. Again, I'm not I don't wanna say I'm totally concerned just yet because remember
Mhm.
last year, the Fords ended up figuring it out. RFK ended up figuring it out, but in again, the new body with the dark horse. So there's gonna be a learning period. It's just at this point, I would have expected to see more consistency. And besides Blaney and I think Briscoe, I don't know if we're seeing it. So
Yep. And, like, I think about, 2017, while Martin Truex Jr. was
oh,
pretty good, he he was the lone Toyota winning races.
exactly.
And then second half of the year, the Gibbs cars caught up and started I mean, Kyle was logging wins like there was no tomorrow. Denny was winning a bunch. Kenseth got a win. So give it time for the Fords to keep
Yeah.
getting more data, and they'll be back in the hunt.
And Noah has a good point here too. Ford has not won in any of the top 3 series this year, which again, all
True.
Ford swept the championship in 2023. So
Yeah.
it's crazy to see how it all starts and how it all plays out, but you
And it's
never
like
know.
crazy because I mean, yeah, it's hard because Gibbs is doing just as good with the new Camry, but Chevy didn't touch the Camaro and they're kicking
Right.
their asses.
Exactly.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
again,
it's crazy.
Chevy doesn't have to learn anything right now. Toyota still does, even though they're still doing pretty
They're
darn
doing
well.
really well.
So,
But this has gotta be a gut punch for Ford Performance.
and I hate it. I hate it for them. But then again, props to Ryan Blaney. I mean, coming off a championship season, we typically see that slump. That has not happened for Ryan. Obviously, I think
Trying.
he'd be faster if the Fords were better, but
He's
hey,
trying.
he's carrying the flag. He's trying. So,
Yeah.
speaking of the national series, let's go on to some NASCAR news. Literally, only 2 pieces of news I wanted to talk about today. One, what?
You did it.
What just what just happened?
I
Was it
think it's because you I think it's
is it
yeah,
Zicky
there you
sign?
go. Yeah. It'll probably do something with that if it
Or
picks it
like
up.
I know the thumbs up thing will do it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I need to turn that off. Sorry, guys. That was fun though. Balloons. Honestly, actually segues into my first piece of news. Congrats to Bubba Wallace and his wife Amanda. They're expecting their first child, so that's pretty cool. Thought I should mention that. I think Bubba said their first child is expected the week of his birthday, so that's fun, exciting. So wanted to say congrats to them because they posted that yesterday. I thought that was fun. So there's that. Second thing is speaking of all 3 national series, Cam Waters it was announced today that he will join I believe it's ThorSport. Yeah, ThorSport yet again in the
Yep.
66 at Kansas. Unfortunately, during his first go at this, he wrecked out at Martinsville near the end of the race. Was there to see that. Hated to see it, but he'll have another chance at Kansas. I don't know what your thoughts are about that, but
Yeah,
I think
just
that's
give him
pretty
more time.
cool.
Give him
Yeah.
more time in the truck. That's good. If he's got the sponsorship to keep them on the racetrack for sure. And a mile and a half is a perfect place to learn your race truck because
Yes.
that is a lot of the schedule, or It used to be.
Rip.
But yeah, that is a bread and butter racetrack where you're going to learn a lot about how the trucks work. Tony Breidinger raced the trucks there last year. So did Jesse Love. So it's a good racetrack to learn racecraft in the truck series and just in a premier series of NASCAR.
Because even, I mean, at Martinsville, Richmond, any short track, you're thrown into the fire. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah,
you're beating a
I mean,
banging door bump, and it's
Richmond's a little more forgiving, except for restarts. But again,
yes,
that kind of fades out a little bit. But yeah, Martinsville, there's nowhere to
Martinsville. There's no forgiving Martinsville. It's
Yeah,
just
you're better off just racing a Bowman Gray.
yeah. Honestly, though, facts. Yeah, that's a tough one. So I mean, I'm excited to see how he does. The
Yeah,
expectation, or at least my hope, is that he finishes the race. A clean truck. That's all I can ask for, quite honestly. And I'm
yeah.
sure like that's after Martinsville, that's his hope as well. So I did want to see in the chat if you have any NASCAR topics, any racing related topics you guys want to talk about, put those in the comments and we can have a discussion about that. Also wanted to say just for reference as well, we are also live on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, for the first time in a really long time. So for everyone viewing us over there, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I want to see. I wanted to ask you, who are you disappointed in so far this season?
Who am I disappointed in?
Yeah, who's been
Lord,
sad this season in NASCAR?
that's a loaded question.
Yeah, we'll just start off
Well,
the banter right now.
let's think. Trackhouse won Atlanta, so they're already in the playoffs. So kudos to them. And Ross is
Ross is in on
racing
the
like
points.
Ross, where he is ultra competitive and keeping himself in the hunt. Sometimes it haunts him, sometimes it doesn't.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say Team Penske. I'm gonna say Team
Okay.
Penske because they're winless. Ryan Blaney is just in the middle of a blizzard carrying that flag up Everest right now for
Mhm.
Penske, while Joey had a great Daytona 500, got
And it's
wrecked out,
just gone down
had
from
a
there.
had a really good car at Atlanta and messed it up on his own, being too aggressive. And the other tracks, I mean, I think about Phoenix, they were irrelevant at Phoenix,
Mhm.
even though they had the fastest car in practice. And I think, no, yeah, in practice, they had the fastest car in practice. Um, but yeah, they were just irrelevant there. And they just
Yeah.
haven't had the speed. They had a good Richmond, and they just used strategy to their advantage in Carnage to have a fair finish at Texas. And then Austin Cindric is
Oh,
struggling.
Cindric. And I hate that because like it typically, and I said this so many times before, but statistically it's true. It takes him 3 seasons to get things grooving in whatever car he's in. And this is season 3 for him. This is
Yeah,
season 3, right? Yeah. So either towards the middle end of this year he needs to be with it, or next year he needs to have a knockout year. But I don't know. We don't know if he's going to have a next year in the 2. Like I know it's hard to say like, hey, Cindric's you speak. I mean, with his family and the company, whatever. Like he's not going to leave the 2. But also it's like if you don't perform, it's
yeah.
Penske perfect. If you don't perform, your seat's in jeopardy. So I would love to see Austin Cindric turn it
I feel
around.
like
I love him. I think he's great. Just
with Penske,
sucks.
I feel like that's the beauty of the Wood Brothers car. I feel
Yeah.
like the Wood Brothers 21 could end up being the demotion car, where if
Yep.
Cindric keeps underperforming, I mean,
But
they're
here's my
I feel like
question
they'll
though.
put him to the 21.
That was my thought process too, is you move Cindric to the 21, Harrison Burton gets moved back to Xfinity because unfortunately he's not done well this season. He thought that Richmond at least would be a place for him to turn it around. It's been a good track to him typically in the past, not this year. However, who's worthy of the 2? You have to ask yourself that then. It's like if we're going to move or if we're going to demote Austin Cindric, who in the world moves to the 2 car? Because I don't know at this point. I don't think anyone's ready.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or at least
Trying to
fits the
think.
vibe. Sometimes it's a vibe check as well.
Yeah, and you got to think of who's gonna work for Penske, and they've got to
Yeah.
be a true contender. I don't see. I know Cole Custer just won the championship, but I don't see him going to Penske. I think
Nope.
he's pretty embedded in Stewart Haas with his family ties to the team.
Same with Riley Herbst. That wouldn't work.
And I don't think Riley. I just don't see a monster 2 car.
No, I feel like that's weird.
Um, I
It's
mean,
like trying to
yeah.
go through all the Ford drivers. It's like, who? I
And
mean, do you?
I'm not even thinking. I'm just thinking anybody
Yeah,
because
no, I'm thinking anybody as well.
Joey came out of Gibbs. He was
Yeah.
out of a contract, but they can come from anywhere. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
here's a thought. I know this is like, hear me out with this one, okay?
Taylor Smith.
No, 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 not even no, gross, no. I just not that. I just don't think he fits the vibe of the two. Nothing against Chandler Smith. It's just like I want him to stay with Gibbs. I think that's a great place for him there. But what if Christopher Bell at some point came out of a contract and he moved to Penske?
I don't think Bell would leave Gibbs,
I don't think he would leave Gibbs either, but that to me feels the
and I don't
most
think like. I mean, listen, if they can lose Kyle Busch, they can lose Christopher Bell. Is the way I'm looking
exactly
at it.
because
But
Bell's been frustrated before with his contract, but I don't know if it's a point of frustration where he'd be like looking for another home at some
what
point in
about
the
Tyler
future.
Reddick?
No, he's 20 no. I don't see him leaving 2311.
Okay.
I don't. Oh, no, see, no, you say it like that. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, we're going through the roster here. Like, I'm thinking through it. I mean, there's possibilities. I mean, with the prestige of Penske, I'm sure there's one driver that's willing to make a switch if they really needed to. But it also is trying to think about the contract situation for people. Oh
Pop,
no.
popped the first name that popped in my head. You said make a switch, and I'm thinking from a different series. And I was like, what if they put Newgarden in the two? Could you imagine?
Please.
Could you imagine?
Please.
No,
First off, when is New Garden going to get a NASCAR Cup Series start? Like,
he's not
hello,
going to.
put
No,
him
with
in.
so Roger Penske is
I
very, very, very,
know.
very against that.
I
I
know.
pay
I
you
just hate
good
it
money
though.
to master the IndyCar, and that's what you're gonna do.
So,
So,
like, what if we got like 100,000 people to sign a petition to get New Garden in a Cup car? I want to see that. So, I mean, I loved seeing him in the
Roger,
SRX
you
race
know
for
what
as long as
Roger
he was
would
there.
do? He would say, "Thanks so much. Now that I have your names and addresses, I'll be sending you Penske shirts."
Exactly. I mean,
That's
I would
all
take a
that'll happen.
Penske shirt. Why not?
So, yeah, no, that
Oh.
would never happen.
Hey, I like this idea though. If speaking of another IndyCar driver, Scotty Mack versus SVG on a NASCAR road course, I want to see that. That'd be sweet.
I mean, we did do
Yeah.
a ride swap in 2011. Lewis Hamilton drove Tony Stewart's car, and they swapped. They did that at Watkins Glen.
Oh my God, how did I not know that?
Lewis drove
Wow.
the 14 Mobil 1 car, and Tony drove his McLaren Mercedes because they both had Mobil 1 sponsors.
That's incredible. I had no clue.
And it was raining at Watkins Glen that day too, so they did it on a
Oh,
damp
that's
racetrack.
perfect. I say that's cool.
So
Man.
yeah, because of the height difference, because Lewis is a small guy,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
this was at the beginning of his career too, so he was skinny. Tony said, "Yeah, we had to get a high chair for him so we could see
Oh
over
my
the steering
God.
wheel."
Oh man. No, that's cool. I mean, it's
No,
fun to wonder,
I
you know.
realistically, Cindric's not going anywhere anytime soon, and
No.
the problem, the catch-22 Penske has is, like you said, there's really nobody in the pipeline.
Like,
It would have to come down to an expiring contract with a
yeah.
driver that is interested in
Yeah, and I
exploring options.
I feel like I should be clear. Do I want Cindric to leave Penske? No, not even a chance. I want him to spend his entire career there if possible, and if that makes sense for him and whatever. Like, that's all I want. But the performance has just not been Penske perfect. And it makes me sad. I mean, you start off your Cup Series career winning the Daytona 500, like your full-time career. Like that's a hype that's hard to live up to. So,
And it's like, things have kind of tapered off too, because I mean, look at the year Penske had so far. They're coming
yeah.
off the Rolex 24, winning that with Porsche Penske, and then IndyCar. I believe they won the opener. Yeah, Newgarden won the
Yeah.
IndyCar opener at St. Petersburg, and Joey won pole for the
Seven.
500. So they were really feeling themselves, and they have
Yeah.
crashed back to earth pretty quickly.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts. So,
And they're coming off the Cup championship last year. So,
exactly. And then IndyCar's
but
racing, is it Long Beach this weekend, IndyCar?
yep, the Grand Prix
Yeah.
of Long Beach.
Yeah.
And
So
I
I'm excited
will
about that.
emphasize too, Penske is undefeated in the next gen era. Just remember that. They have not lost the championship in the next gen era.
Oh, you're right. Wow.
Just remember that. Just a friendly reminder.
So are you saying even number
Joey
year, Joey Logano
Joey
2024?
only needed 3 Ws to be a champion in 2018, and it all
That's fair.
started his first win of that year was Talladega.
It's
Just
true.
saying.
It's
Just
true.
saying.
It's always so fun to look back at like 2018 when it was like Joey Logano was the dark horse versus the big
As
three,
a
like that
Jo
whole
as a
storyline.
Joey fan, it's good to look back on 2018. I would
Yes.
hate to be a Kyle Busch fan. I would hate to be a Harvick fan.
Oh, as a
I'd
Harvick
be mad to be a
fan,
Truex fan too.
I was livid. 2020, as a Harvick fan, I was livid. I was
Oh
like,
god.
dude got robbed. Hamlin got robbed too, to be honest with you, but
Yeah.
it's fine. It's okay. I can live. We're good. We're fine. It's fine. So I would
Denny
say
should have won.
somebody
Denny should have
did.
won in 2019 too.
Denny should have won multiple championships at this point, but again, he's destined to never do it. Yeah, he's counting. Dom's going to count the championships that Denny Hamlin should have won. There's a lot more I think Harvick should have won too, to be honest with you. Our buddy,
I would say 3 to 5. There are 3 to 5 seasons
yeah,
that Denny was a legit title contender. 2010, he choked it, genuinely choked it in 2010. 2019, they had a great year and literally they threw an interception on 4th and goal for the win. 2020, they had a great car, but they were horrible at Phoenix, and that just bit them
yeah,
in the butt. 2022, I would say they were pretty solid, and then Hail Melon happened.
yep.
And then
It was like
last year,
3 points or something like
last year they were after the night race at Bristol, they were convinced the title was theirs, and they couldn't even
yeah,
get to Phoenix. So
it was tough. 2019 was the year that the tape got them right.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
God.
just a
I
little
feel like
ambitious.
it's
Oh my gosh, yeah, John has a great the
John.
2008 Kyle Busch collapse. He won. Okay, no, here, this is the only way I can do this.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, go
won.
for it. Go for it.
He won Atlanta, Talladega, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, Chicagoland, Daytona, Dover, and there's one more. Darlington. That was all before the chase.
That's
And
painful.
as soon as the chase started, they tanked. Within 3 weeks, they were no longer in contention to win the
Wow.
championship. They were
What
pretty much mathematically eliminated after 3 races in the chase. It was
that's
just
horrible.
they went in as the number 1 seed. It's just
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Carl Edwards caught fire. Jimmy Johnson did Jimmy Johnson things. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What a
And
season.
yeah, that was a great year because that was the Kyle Busch Revenge Tour, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. made his first start with Hendrick, and it was the collision course of all of a lifetime for Richmond
Yeah.
in '08. Oh my gosh, what a great year. Oh, what a great year.
What a great year to be a fan. What a bad year to be,
Yeah.
Kyle Busch and literally almost anyone else, really. Man.
I know we always do the joke of all that for a William Byron win.
Yeah.
It was 2008 was all that for a Jimmy Johnson title.
That's about right.
But no, Jimmy
Yeah.
was so good that year too. They were just so good.
Yeah.
Got to give him credit. Jeff
Yeah.
Gordon didn't win that year. That was a big surprise because they were good most of that year, and like Junior only had 1 win, but he was like him and Kyle were trading the points lead back and forth that whole season.
That's incredible.
Good times.
It's always
Carl
fun.
Edwards cheated at Vegas.
He
and,
what at Vegas?
He cheated at Vegas.
Oh, okay. I thought you said yeeted. I was like, what do you mean
I
yeeted?
can't remember what the penalty was, but they cheated at Vegas, and he lost his crew chief for like 5 races.
God.
And they still ended up having the most wins on the year and came. I mean, to put it this way, like they were so good, they won Homestead, but still couldn't outpoint Jimmy for the title. They were just that good.
When it came to the chase, I mean, Jimmy had it figured out.
Oh yeah,
pretty much
without question.
Yeah, without question.
Goodness. Good times.
Yeah, it's always fun to like look back in NASCAR history and figure out like you think back to moments that are happening now and you're like, oh, that something similar happened like 20 years ago. And like you can always like point back to those moments, which I think is pretty cool. I did see a comment about, I think Adam in the chat brought this up and I lost the comment, so I'm sorry, but he did ask about what are our thoughts on SVG's season so far in Xfinity, my first thought goes right back to he did great at Coda, and then he got that 30-second penalty, and I was like, oh well, crap.
He's having a good
So,
rookie year. He's
but
having
he's
a
having a
good
great rookie
rookie year
year.
for a rookie stock car driver. It's a good rookie year for him,
Mhm.
and I'm excited to see him run Talladega in that Cup car. That looks delicious. That Wendy's
Yes,
car with
hold
the
on.
fries on the side. I saw the picture of it. I was like, that is red hot. So
Let me
no,
find it for
he's having a
y'all.
good year. I did put in my predictions that he would go winless this year,
How
which I
dare
knew got a lot of negative responses. But I just
you could be right though.
he's gotta learn the car. I know what happened at the Chicago Street Course was incredible and just walked in and took the W, but he's got to learn these cars on ovals and whatnot, and he's doing a pretty decent job. So he's logging laps, he's learning, and what more could you ask for? Oh,
There we
look
go.
at that! Good
It's
grief!
beautiful. It's beautiful.
I'm okay with the Xfinity car. I love the Cup car. The Cup
Yeah.
car looks so ride or fry. Come on.
It's so clever. Also, complete side note, but the new Wendy's, well, not even new anymore, but the Wendy's fry recipe, way better than it was in years past. Their fries are
Natural
very
cut
good.
fries
Yeah. Yeah.
with sea
Also,
salt.
are you somebody who likes to dip your fry in your Frosty, or is that like blasphemy to you?
I learned that in college from a friend
Okay.
who
Wow. All
had
right.
done it for the longest time. I was like, "Sure, I'll try it," and yeah, I went to heaven that day.
Ever
I
since
don't
then.
always do it. I don't always do it. I don't always when I go to Wendy's, I don't always have to get a Frosty with it, but when I do get a
Right.
Frosty,
See, I'm
I dip
very
my
excited. They have the orange dreamsicle Frosty coming out, and I'm so hyped. That's how you know it's summer when they have their lame, lame.
my my
The
best
negativity.
my best friend from back home went off when they got rid of the vanilla Frosty. I just thought it was so funny. He's like, "Of course you're upset about
Because
this."
here's the thing though, they always like ditch the vanilla frosty for some other fun flavor. Like the peppermint one's really good. The strawberry one, great. Orange dreamsicle, I bet it's straight fire. I bet it's awesome. But it's always at the expense of the vanilla frosty. It kind of makes me sad because that's a
Hey, at least
staple too
chocolate
for
sticks
me.
around.
Yeah.
Just waiting for the
Actually,
mint chocolate one to come out.
I used to not like chocolate frosties, and then they gave me the wrong one in my order, and I was like, you know what? I pay for this. I'm gonna eat it. And it was very good. So I've been
Welcome back.
converted. Thanks.
Missed you.
Speaking thanks. Um, with SVG, by the way, I did want to share his stats real quick. 2 top 10s, 1 top 5, and then 1 DNF for his season so far. Like you said, it's his rookie year in Xfinity, but it's also like his rookie full-time season, like in any form of like
Yep.
NASCAR ever, which like that's better stats than a lot of the other rookies that come in that have been
Yeah.
racing like these types of stock cars
Yeah, for
for
sure.
a long time.
Yeah, and
So
I mean, that just also shows how much experience he does have just racing in general.
right.
Uh, just put me in a race car and I'll do well. It's like Tony Stewart. Just put me in a
Yeah.
race car and I'll get the most out of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, kudos to him. It's been a good year. I wasn't expecting a victory out of him, and I'm happy with what he's doing this year. He's doing exactly what he should be doing, and it's learning
Yeah.
the car and gradually getting competitive.
The next road course they have, get ready. He might not win it, but he might win it. Just be on the lookout.
I mean, the way he ran Coda, I was like, "Oh man, my
Yeah,
my
it was
prediction might
close.
be
Yeah.
doomed here."
Here's the
'Cause
thing though too, somebody
he
talked
is
about
he is
Austin
rocket fast.
Hill. Oh, yeah, somebody mentioned Austin Hill in here, but speaking of that, Austin Hill even had a chance to win Coda too. Like he's nonstop. Like he's insane this year.
When he puts the bulldozer blade on the front of his car, yeah, he has a chance.
That's the other part of the problem too. But oh man, no, Xfinity's been really
He
fun to
fits
watch
right
this
in with
year.
that team.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. We do love SVG and AJ. They're great. Dom, I think it's time that we look at Talladega and you
It's about
talk
that
about your
time.
top 10. It's about that time.
It's about that
So
time. Let me pull my
here we go.
numbers up
Speaking of which, we do not have a paint scheme of a certain driver. It has not come out yet, but
here.
everything else is updated. I just wanted to say before y'all called it out in the
I'm gonna
comments,
I'm gonna loo I'm literally gonna look at his Instagram right now and see if they've unveiled it while
watch
we're on
it
the
be
live stream.
out since we were on the stream.
I
But
don't think they do it at this hour though,
no, how
but
dare they do that?
it's also Denny Hamlin, so
It's Denny. It's Denny time. We all run on Denny time.
let's see. Now, okay, so he hasn't posted anything. What about JGR? Really quickly.
They
Really
probably have not.
quickly.
Also, by the way,
Thank
as
you.
he's looking right after this live stream, at 8 p.m., I have an interview with Chris Hall that is being published to the Toby Christie YouTube channel. He is the director of pit operations for Legacy Motor Club. So got to talk to him about how he formed their crews from the ground up, about his career. And also he has a really funny story about his first meeting with the king, Richard Petty. So I thought that was pretty cool. But really grateful to Legacy Motor Club for allowing me to talk with their crews and everything like that. So make sure to watch that video. It's pretty fun. We'll have more content from the crew coming out in the next few weeks as well. But now it's time.
So they have not unveiled the paint scheme yet. So Denny Hamlin has maybe a special paint scheme for FedEx because it's the fan appreciation kind of deal for their fan sweepstakes. But we've got that beautiful, that gorgeous FedEx car on there. But no, he is our statistical favorite for this weekend's race at Talladega. Again, these are stats only from the spring race for these guys. The only exception, I believe, was Carson Hocevar, who ran the fall race last year. That's his only Talladega start. Because he had a Talladega start, I wanted to include him on this list. Josh Berry has not made a Talladega start yet, so he was not ranked on this list. So give him some time. But okay, I know the scheme isn't updated.
I believe Dewey is being sarcastic.
We're working on it. But now, Denny
I love it.
Denny won back in 2014. It's his only win. It's his only win there, but he's got 2 pole positions, which helped him. And I think what was good for him was consistency.
Yes.
He's got 3,251 laps completed. So, and he's led 292 laps. So he's done well, but he doesn't have the best numbers. But with a lot of these guys, the reason why he's up there is because he finishes the races.
Exactly.
I look at Joey Logano, who is P8 on our list, and he won back in 2018 and is always a contender to win at Talladega. He has 8 DNFs in the spring race.
Yep.
And that kills him. So he is very far back there because of that. Christopher Bell has good numbers, though. He's in P9. He has starts of 6th, 1st, and 6th, and then finishes. He has a top 10. And he's also got, he's got 13 laps led and 764 laps completed, no DNFs. So that helps Christopher Bell. No DNFs in the spring race at Talladega. Kyle Busch is the defending winner of this race. He's won it twice, 2008, 2023. He's kind of in that same boat where if he's not winning it, he's wrecking in it. But he did have a good run in the mid 2010s where he was very competitive at Talladega, was finishing well. That benefited him to be up there in contention. Speaking of the mid 2010s, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., P6, got his first career Cup win at Talladega in 2017. Started that race from pole position as well. So that has helped him. And adding that his career wins are Talladega, Daytona, that kind of helps. So he's a super speedway ace. You've got to keep him on your list of guys that could break out and get the victory. Chase Elliott is carrying that family tradition of kicking butt at Talladega. He won this race back in 2019, his first Cup start at Talladega, won pole position for it in the 24 car back in 2016. So he knows how to start the race. He knows how to finish the race. Keep an eye out for that 4 car or that 4th position car, the 9 car, to maybe get back-to-back wins. I know Elliott Nation
it's possible.
Love that.
Oh, yes.
Brad Keselowski is our winningest guy. He's won this race 4 times. 2009, his first career win, one of the most controversial wins of all time, when he flipped Carl Edwards into the grandstands.
Yeah.
That was his first career win, and that was this race in 2009. Then he won it again in 2012, 2016, and 2021. But those 3 were all with Penske. So we'll see. Like I say the same thing about Kyle Busch when he's ranked high. It's like, those were all with Gibbs. We'll see if Keselowski can break through. He's had great super speedway cars before with RFK. This could be the year for him, but
I'm begging the racing gods to
Yes.
please get Brad back in
Uh,
victory lane.
Ryan Blaney
Hmm.
has an average start of 12.7, an average finish of 12th. So there's two of his numbers there. His best start is third. He won this race back in 2020. He's led 148 laps. He's led the most laps twice in this race, and he's got over 1,600 laps completed, only one DNF in this race, and he's got a total of 9 starts in this race. So he finishes the race. He's always in contention. Keep an eye out for the 12 car, as always. Keep an eye out for the Penske cars in general, because we know they're going to bring something fierce to this racetrack.
And even though Austin Cindric is not on this list, we know that he is a very good super speedway racer. And I'm sure we'll get to his stats in a second. I know
So,
Truex, I have questions about Truex on this list too.
so yeah, we'll go to Truex here, who's P10 on our list, and he's got more starts than I can actually count. I believe he's got 19 starts in this race. But his average start is 17.1, average finish 21st. His best start, he started on pole once, and his best finish is fifth 2 times, and only 69 laps led in 3,400 laps completed. And he's got 7 DNFs in this race. But again, this is the beauty of having a lot of starts on your list. The more starts you have, the less DNFs. It's a little bit more forgiving for you. But Truex is a consistent guy. He's always just in the conversation. Maybe have a chance here or there. He probably doesn't see himself winning this race, but I think a top 10 is a good bet for that 19 car. And then last guy I mentioned was William Byron, who's 7th on our list. Let me see, 15.2 start, 14.2 finish. Best start is 4th, best finish is 2nd, and only 76 laps led the most laps once, over 1,100 laps completed, 1 DNF. Him and Logano actually tied on my list for their overall point.
Oh, okay.
They both had 10.1s, but Byron got the nod. So keep an eye out for that 24 car. I think he's going to be competitive, just as all the other Hendrick cars are. Larson does not like Talladega.
No.
Larson is 17th on the list with an average start of 16.1, an average finish of 25.9. And he's only led 42 laps with 5 DNFs. So
Yeah.
Larson doesn't like it here. And you mentioned Austin Cindric. Cindric only has 2 starts in this spring race, and his finishes are 21st and 26th. And it would appear he's never led a lap in this race, but he has no DNFs. So it's more so he's just not a factor, unfortunately.
Yeah. Man, the other driver, I think I always mention, I think every week when you do these stats, Chris Buescher.
21st. 21st
Okay.
on our list. He has an average start of 26.3, not the best, but it's about how you finish. And he's at a 20.6. So best start 10th, best finish 3rd. If you remember back in 2016, he actually barrel rolled down the back
Yes.
straightaway.
Yep.
And he's led 42 laps in 1,200 laps completed, but he has 5 DNFs.
That sounds
So
about right.
that's what hurts him.
And Matt is wanting to know from Twitter. 48.
The
Where's
48, Alex
Bowman?
Bowman, he is 12th. He
Just outside the top 10.
in 8 starts, average start of 19.6, average finish 15.1, best start 5th, best finish 2nd. He has led 53 total laps, 1,400 laps completed, 2 DNFs.
Sounds
That is
about
where
right.
he is. Looking at some other former winners at Talladega. Let's see here. Michael McDowell is actually, I know he won the Daytona 500. He's 26th on the list. His
Dang.
numbers aren't that great.
Where's Todd Gilliland on that
Todd
list?
Gilliland is 29th in 2 starts. He's got an average start of 30th, but an average finish of 18.5, not the worst.
So,
His
like,
best
I know
finish 10th.
I know he's far out on your list, but I still wouldn't count him out. Maybe
I
not
wouldn't either.
winning, but being in that top 10 at least. I mean, I think he's shown a lot of strength this season. I think he's outperforming, I think, what their equipment currently is doing. He has a chance to maybe win this weekend and get himself into the playoffs, be like one of the out of the blue random wins that we have. I believe
No,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. I think he's shown this year that he's a contender until he's not. I feel like is the
That's a
problem with
nice way to
Todd.
put it.
I feel like that he really does have those moments where like, yeah, he can do something here, but something happens and it pushes him back, whether it be just strategy goes against him or
A lot of it seems to be
he just gets
strategy
shuffled out of the
related.
way. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Um Bubba Wallace is a former Talladega winner. He won the fall race.
yep.
I've got him matching his car number. I've got him 23rd
Yeah,
in 6 starts, 18.7 start, 22.2 finish. So that probably hurts
that
him a
hurts him.
lot.
Also,
2 DNFs as well.
by the way, for those that are tuning in and they're like, how in the world are you getting these numbers? How have you compiled this projected top 10?
So what I do is I take every driver and I compile their average start, their average finish, their best start, best finish, number of wins, number of poles, total laps led, how many times they've led the most laps, total laps completed, and DNFs are ranked against them. And I put all of those together and then I rank each statistical category and I take all of those rankings and create an average number and I go based off that number.
So now you
Math.
know. Math.
So this
Math.
is at the end of the day, this is what that looks like. And
Oh, yeah.
it's just a lot of numbers.
So many numbers.
It's just a lot of numbers. So yeah, that's a lot of fun to do.
Hey, we get good predictions from it. Again, last
Do
week I
we?
think I
Do
think
we
we
really?
I think last week was better than the others, but again, like we're looking at these numbers. We have minimal number of years in the Gen 7 car. Some
Yeah,
drivers have swapped organizations that they've gotten most of their stats in. So it's not
Kyle
always
Busch.
going to be perfect. Yeah, Kyle Busch, for instance, Brad Keselowski, for instance. So it's not always going to be perfect, but it can at least give you a decent idea of maybe fantasy lineup, maybe who could be an underdog.
Guys, I think it works with great right now are Denny, Joey,
Yep.
Chase,
Blaney, I think.
Blaney, and even William Byron, just
Yep.
guys that have had long tenures with the same team. Like I know Denny's been a lifer for Joe Gibbs, but like
Oh, yeah.
Joey's been with Penske for now 11 years now. So didn't start his career with them, had 4 full seasons with JGR, but has been with Penske since. So it's just guys that have been with that same team. It makes kind of more sense compared to a Kyle Busch who has 3 wins total with RCR over a year and a quarter, where all but 3 of his wins came with JGR
Right.
beforehand.
Right. So I don't know. We'll have to see. We're not going to give our winning predictions for Talladega. Those will come out race day on Sunday. We don't want to spoil them for you. And also, we don't know them ourselves yet. We have ideas of what drivers we think could win, but with our randomly generated draw that we do at Above the Yellow Line, we don't know them until like Friday night, and then you guys will know them on Sunday. So if we race Sunday, because apparently weather is going to be very fun this weekend. I say that very sarcastically. So we will see if we get any type of racing in this weekend. For the Xfinity Series, I will at least say for myself, I'm going to be looking at Austin Hill. I think Parker Kligerman, he tends to do decently at the super speedways. I think he could sneak his way into a win as well. But I mean, the RCR cars in general are always for me at super speedways, especially in Xfinity this year. I think we'll see at least one of them win, possibly. That's my take for there.
I think so
I
too.
don't know about SVG, but
I think this could be a really good weekend for Jesse Love.
yeah, he's been very
But I
impressed. I
also
mean, I'm
but
not
I
surprised.
also
He's been
have
very,
that scary feeling that he's going to get caught up in something he didn't cause.
yep.
That's just how Talladega rewards you for your first
It's
start.
honestly, yeah, it's like initiation, trial by fire,
Oh
kind
yeah.
of. So I don't know. But that is it from us this weekend, or I guess this week, out above the yellow line. This weekend, though, keep up with us on our social media handles to keep up to date with all NASCAR news and things like that. TobyChristie.com will have race coverage there from Toby Christie, Joseph Sprigley, all of us, the whole team there. I'm keeping you up to date on practice, qualifying, stories that break over the weekend, etc. And then, of course, visit us at abovetheyellowline.com. We have merchandise there. Make sure to get it. And yeah, get the merchandise. That's all I can say. And then also more about us there and our social media handles as well. They'll all be linked in the description as well if you are on Facebook and YouTube. But that's it from us. Everyone have a great race weekend. If you're traveling to Talladega, have fun. Be safe if you're partying in the infield. Hydrate. Watch out for your fellow party goers. And I guess go Bucks, right? OH.
I know.
Since we're wearing the red. But yeah. Everyone, thanks so much for joining. Stay tuned on our social media for more content. And again, that video with Chris Hall is now out on the Toby Christie.com YouTube platform. Make sure to give it a watch. We also have a video on the Above the Yellow Line channel with the pit crew answering some fun and silly questions. And we'll have more content with the Legacy Motor Club crews coming out in the next few weeks as well. So thanks everybody so much. For myself and Dom, we'll see you next time. Bye.